Hello, everyone. Welcome to our feature spotlight with Artwork Archive, helping you manage your art business using locations, exhibitions, and contacts. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as people are gathering in. I'd love to know where you're logging in from, wherever in the world, maybe what kind of art you make, how long you've been using Artwork Archive. It's always really fun to get to know everyone. A bit of housekeeping items before we really jump in. So yes, this webinar will be recorded. I'll share the recording within 24 hours with all who registered, including the slides and the chat file. And then I've saved a few minutes at the end of the session to answer any questions that you may have. So submit any of those that come up using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And note that the chat is different from the Q&A. So the Q&A is a really great place to ask the questions that are going to be guided at the end, and I can see those. And then the chat is the best place to introduce yourself. If you have any technical issues, or if you want to ask a question to the general audience that maybe other people can answer, specific use cases or those kind of questions, those are great for the chat because everyone can see them. And then for specific Q&A questions that you don't want getting lost in the chat, because sometimes the chat can pile up and then at the end I won't be able to see those questions, send those that you really want to get answered in the Q&A box. And in case you are new or not familiar with Artwork Archive, I know a lot of you might not have an account with us, but a little history about our Artwork Archive is we began in 2010 as one of the first cloud-based art inventory systems. So after one of our founders' mother, who's an oil painter, actually lost years of really valuable information from a hard drive crash, her son, our founder, one of them, we have co-founders, he couldn't find a solution. So he made one for artists that was custom tailored to their needs in order to prevent something like that happening in the future. And the rest is history. And now we are used in over, I think, 130 countries. And our aim is to provide artists, collectors, and organizations with the powerful tools to manage your artwork, careers, collections, and so forth. And we're really accessible enough for early stage artists or collectors and powerful enough for those larger global art collections and organizations. I like to think of Artwork Archive as an extension of your studio. I call it my virtual studio assistant because we're cloud-based. So this means that you can access your account on any device. So say you're out and a collector wants you to know what available work you have right now. You can pull up your account on your phone or tablet and create a private room immediately with your available work to send off, or you can even upload images using your phone. And of course, the concern of longevity, security, et cetera, is what drove much of our decision-making process when we were creating Artwork Archive and the features that we add continuously. So we're cloud-based. So that means that we also use the highest level of encryption, industry best practices, and enterprise level security and hosting. We also made a conscious decision to give our users the ability to download and export their information at any time in multiple formats. So anything you see that we're adding here today, you can export into Excel, and I'll show you how to do that, or a CSV at any time. So this is a feature spotlight. If this feels too advanced or you want a more general overview of the platform and the Artwork Archive's main features as you're just getting started, I highly recommend that you attend one of our 101 getting started training sessions. So those happen twice a month on Wednesdays. All right, let's dive in. So the question that this whole webinar is sort of based on is, why do I need to track my locations, exhibitions, and contacts? And when you're first starting out, it may not seem like the most important thing to do because really making the art is, but as your career progresses and your art gets out in the world, you'll need to really keep tabs on where it's going, where it's been, who it is sold to. And also, in order to grow your career, you'll need a network to get your work out there. So keeping track of those important clients, collectors, other artist friends, and anyone important to you in your art career is really great because You can reach out to them when you have available work or a show in the future. And as many of you know, this is a long game. So art careers span for decades. And someone you may have met early on at an art show could be the curator in the future who has been keeping up with your work and wants to include you in a show. And as far as exhibition goes, it's also really important to keep track of this information to tell the story of a piece. So being able to give a collector or a curator or a potential client the full context of an artwork, including where it's been, where it's shown, is really important to provide authenticity and provenance to the piece. All of that to say, knowing the location and exhibition history can provide details if you ever need it in the future. Maybe it's for legal reasons as well, like establishing ownership. Ultimately, this also just gives you peace of mind, so it helps you become more professional in your art practice, and it's really never too late to start doing this. But I will say the sooner the better, especially if you're just starting out, to really lay a foundation of the process of keeping up with your work. I remember when I was first starting out as a professional artist, there was an artist mentor that I had that he was starting to exhibit in a lot of museums. And I said, do you have one piece of advice? And he said, please keep track of where your art is and who it's gone to. Because if you're showing in a museum, and I don't know if this is the case for every museum, but he said, they're going to want all of that information. And you don't want to have to go and track your work down later. And as your career progresses, so do the number of locations where your work ends up. And by locations, I mean really any place your work is showing outside of your own inventory. So this could be multiple art studios, temporary art shows, storage units, art galleries, museums, public spaces, commercial spaces, online platforms, collectors' homes. So it's important to keep track of locations over time because you'll want to be able to locate that work and get an understanding too of maybe where it's been selling best from what location, or maybe where your work gets the most feedback or traffic, or also, maybe you sold it to a collector many moons ago and you're trying to remember where it was. You sold it to them in Arizona. You have their, phone number, email. You can reach out and track that work down if maybe it needs to come together in a larger context for a show you're doing in the future. And now, along with locations and exhibitions, another important thing to track, like I mentioned, is your contacts. So here's a few reasons why keeping track of your contacts is important. Networking. So keeping track of contacts can help artists build and maintain their professional network, which is really essential for finding new opportunities and collaborating with others in the industry. You can also benefit your marketing side of your business by keeping up with the contacts. So artists can use their contacts to promote your work, whether it's through email newsletters, social media posts, targeted campaigns, so forth. It'll also help you with your sales. So knowing, like I said, who has shown interest in your work and keeping track of potential buyers and future buyers can really help you close sales and generate more revenue. And then also follow-ups. So keeping track can help you easily follow up with those clients or the collaborators, mentors, or vendors. So you can maintain those relationships and ensure you don't miss any important opportunities. Also, just organizational purposes. So having a really well-organized contact list and system can help you stay on top of your administrative tasks, help you with scheduling, help you with sending invoices, and help you with managing your calendar and just everything in your art business overall. Because staying organized really means staying profitable. And ultimately, we really want you to be able to make a living doing what you love. Also, how are we doing out there? Is the pace good? Are you able to hear me well and see the screen? Just want to make sure everyone's keeping up. Great. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So when you log into your Artwork Archive account, you'll land on the Pieces page. This is considered your home base. It's called Pieces. This is where you'll find all the artwork in the system. And let me jump into a piece record to show you what I'm talking about in context. So this is the life of a piece. You have all the information you need stored in this one piece record, including title, if the work is sold, who it is sold to, where it's exhibited, any additional images or videos related to the piece, and any expenses expenses and additions, etc. Is also the piece description, signature info, status if you have a public profile. So this is the full story of a piece. And if you didn't already know, you can also store high resolution images of your work. So you can store those here if you have access to those. So even if a piece is sold and is no longer in your studio, you'll always have access to it virtually with this piece record. And something that's really neat about archiving your work like this is you also get to see all of your art practice in context and track your story as an artist over time. So by keeping up with your descriptions or materials, you can see how your thought process evolves. Or it's like looking back at a journal and you can see how you've grown, and perhaps it even gives you a better understanding of the work you're making and why you might be making it if it doesn't seem clear at the moment. But what I really love is being able to access these high resolution images, because we all know, once a piece is sold, that's really it. So if you already have all of this information saved, you don't have to try and track it down and remember these details. So locations, if you look at these locations, this is everywhere the piece has been at some point. And this is a really filled out piece record. So this is for a demo for you to kind of see what it looks like, but you may not have all of this information for a piece. You may only have, one exhibit, or maybe it's just one location it's been to. That's totally okay. I'm just giving you an example so that you can see what these fields are really used for. And I also want to point out that I am using a master account. So if your screen looks a little different, it may be that you're on a different artist account. I'm using the master with all the full features so that you can really understand what's possible in the system. So by looking at these locations, by default, the platform recognizes any piece without a location as being in, your inventory. So you don't need to make a location for your studio unless it helps you or you want to. You can add a location to a specific piece here, or you can create it from the locations page. So let's hop over to the locations page. As you can see, you can have whatever type of location that you want. So when I click into a location record, here's what information it can hold, including contact information, reminders, and pieces currently at that location, as well as the history of pieces that have ever been at this location. It will also hold any sales made from that location, and you can store additional documents associated with it, like consignment agreements or contracts. You can add pieces to this location by clicking Manage Inventory at the top. And once a piece has been left, has left this location, you can also click Return Inventory, and this will designate it back to your, quote unquote inventory, which is, maybe your studio, etc. And it's just no longer at this location. So you can bulk do that here, and I'll show you what that looks like. We have our piece picker. That is the way that you choose images and pieces to go into certain places throughout the platform. So, you would click a start date. I'm adding work starting April 13th. It's going to end on the 28th. Is this the current location? Yes. Add these two pieces, sign, and those two pieces will be added to this location. So this location is, for an example, a gallery. So maybe a gallery is wanting to show some of your work. You can designate that the pieces have left your inventory, gone to this gallery by creating a location for the gallery and moving those pieces into this location. So that's what these are all about. It's really about knowing where your art is at all times and remembering that, and remembering when it went there. So, if any of you maybe in the chat, let me know, but I have certainly sent pieces to a gallery and forgotten what was there or that they had been there for far too long because life got busy. And this is supposed to help you offload that information so you're not holding it in your brain or trying to access it in a random, notebook or calendar somewhere. But all your pieces are able to be tracked. So if you want to see the entire history of pieces that have been at this location, you can click Showing History up here at the top, and it will take you to the entire log of not only what is currently there, but also what has been shown in the past. So if it's currently in this location, like at a show, or it's being stored at this gallery or storage unit, then it will say current. If unknown is before it, that just means that there was no designated start date. So you can go in and correct that if needed. And then the pieces below show in dates, meaning it was at this location up until this day. So this doesn't have a starting date, but I'll give you an example. Here's an example of the dates that this was at this location. So it said it was sold elsewhere. So maybe it was at a show at this gallery, but it didn't sell at that show. So I moved it to a different gallery and then it sold at that next gallery. This is where you can keep track of those dates just to have the story of the full life of the piece. If you ever need to edit that location info, you can do so by clicking this Edit Location Info, and then it will take you to where you can assign it to a new location or you can edit those dates. I'm going to cancel and get out. Another thing I want to show you is the sales records. So you can see just what pieces have sold from this location and keep track. Oh, let me go back to my location. You can see what pieces have sold from this location and keep track of all of that information to evaluate if this is, a profitable site for you, or, maybe there was one show that it sold a lot and then, 1 month where, it's just all of that information that's really handy. And something I also wanted to show is these hyperlinked. So I'll show you how to create a new contact record, but you can see that I've included, I can connect this sale with this contact record, and it's also connected with selling from this location. Going back to my locations. So I'll go to the main locations page. Another thing I want to show you is that you can create reports for this location. So you can create general reports, you can export all of the location information for all of the locations in Artwork Archive to an Excel or a CSV, or I'll click into this specific location and I can create reports just based on the pieces and this location specifically. So I can create consignment agreements. So maybe I want to, send this along with the pieces that are exhibiting and say, this is how you take care of the piece, or these are the agreements that we reached. And you can sign that as well. There's a place for a signature. You can also, maybe I have an example of a consignment agreement up here. Yes, so here's a consignment agreement that you can create. So, it's to this location, it's from me. Here's the info. And also here are the works included. What I really like to do is send this along to the gallery if I'm sending these works, and they receive it and they sign it and they send a copy of this back to me so that we just have a tangible copy acknowledging the pieces that are there. It's also really handy for them because they get the information about the pieces already and they don't have to, question how much is this piece or what's the sizing or what's the title. I remember working at a gallery and we would get random shipments sometimes from artists without any other context. So we didn't know how to get those pieces into our inventory system because we didn't know what they were called. And we'd have to do a lot of back and forth with the artist. So sending this along with the work just makes you look way more professional and ahead of the game. You can also create an inventory report, portfolio pages, catalog pages, artwork labels for this specific location, and QR code labels. And we have a feature spotlight. I'm not going to go too much in depth on the reports here because we have a webinar and also help docs showing you what these reports are and also the best use case for them. I'm just showing you that you can create them for this specific location. You can also set really important reminders for your locations here. So here's the add reminder feature. So maybe you want to remember to pick up work from this location in a month. So we will go here and we'll say, pick up past pieces from current show, save. It will be logged on this location record specifically, but it will also populate on your main schedule here that I'll show you in a second. And let me show you what this looks like from a piece record. So I'm going to go to a piece without a location record. Let's say this was in your studio, but now is moved to a storage unit. Here's what that process looks like. So I'm going to assign to a location. I have already created a location record for my storage facility. So I'm going to include this. Is this the current location for the piece? Yes. So I'm designating this. You can also log past locations. So if I wanted to say it was in a storage facility last month, but it's not anymore, but I wanted to just have that history, I would uncheck this and it will just store those dates, but not designate it as the current location. So I'm going to mark that it is the current location. I'm moving it today, and I don't know how long it's going to be there, so I'm not going to set an end date yet. And perhaps, the code for this specific door is, 4444 or whatever needs to happen. I would save it. And then now that's going to be stored in the location history on the piece record for this specific painting. And it's checked current, so I know that this is where this piece is currently located. Okay, so those are locations. I'm going to take us to the exhibitions feature now. So the exhibitions feature is where you'll keep track of temporary locations of your artwork and build your exhibition history of each piece. So exhibitions help you track and record past, present, and future exhibitions. You can also use it for competitions, grant submissions, proposals, anything that you want to track that your work is temporarily going to be. So just like the locations feature, you're able to include important details like dates, additional documents, where the exhibition is happening, and how many works you submitted. And what's great is after you upload which works you submitted, you're then able to change the status of those pieces here. So maybe you submitted a piece, but it wasn't accepted yet. You would keep it on submitted. Or maybe it wasn't accepted. But once it is accepted, you can click accepted. And then what's great is this will then automatically populate an exhibition history within this piece record. So it was accepted, going to be in this exhibition. Therefore, this now has a new exhibition history log. Maybe you want to keep track of the consignment agreements or proposal guidelines for a grant submission, or maybe it's an image of the exhibition itself. So whatever you want to include to catalog and remember all the details of this temporary exhibition, you can include here in additional files. And you can also see that I have a location attached to this exhibition. So while the location is the physical place where the pieces will be located, the exhibition is an event or a temporary experience that these pieces may be a part of. So that's one way to think of that. And also, here's where those important dates are. I can also print reports for this specific exhibition. So I like to print these out and put with my pieces I need to send to a show as well. Maybe you have studio assistant that needs to keep up with all of these dates so everyone's on the same page. This is where you can do that. And the reports that you can generate are similar to the location. So, exhibition report, inventory report for all of them, or just the accepted pieces. So maybe you want to have a history of all the pieces that you submitted because you don't want to resubmit them in the future. This is where you can do that. You can also, maybe you're doing an exhibition and you need to make the labels for it. You can create those artwork labels for those pieces here. Maybe you also want to submit to a, grant proposal or something, a competition, and you want to send the portfolio ahead of time with the pieces. You can do that here as well. And of course, you can always export to Excel. And also these dates that are entered on exhibitions will automatically be added to your schedule. So this is the schedule feature, and it's meant to help you better manage your time and avoid missing those critical deadlines. So this is where those exhibition alerts will go, where your location reminders that you included, anything or any reminder or date that you have elsewhere will be populated here. You can also use it to schedule follow-ups with clients, meetings, any other time-sensitive items. And then your reminders for the next 12 months will show up. And then you'll also automatically receive a weekly update of your upcoming to-dos every Monday to your email that's in this account. And you can update those preferences from the account page. So if you don't want that email, you also can opt out. What's great is you can also sync these specific events to an outside calendar, like a Google Calendar, Outlook, iCal, etc. And now, lastly, I'm going to talk about contacts. So with contacts, you can build new relationships, strengthen existing ones, and we like to call it the customer relationship management. So in addition to adding your contacts information, you can log past conversations, schedule follow-ups, track sales. And you can also easily send reports, online viewing rooms, pieces, etc., to your contacts. So let me show you what a filled out contact record can look like. So as you can see, I can include, contact information and email, address if I have it. They are in a group, and I'll touch on groups in a moment. But, maybe their partner's name, maybe their birthday. You want to send a happy birthday. You can also schedule reminders here that are specific to this contact. So maybe I want to say, we're getting coffee on Saturday. So grab coffee at, 9 a.m. This will be added and saved to that record right here. So, or maybe I want to follow up with this person in a month because they said they were interested in a piece, but they can't buy it right now, but to follow up in a month, I can add that information as well. This is where it'll show any shared reports within Artwork Archive. So I go through the process of what it looks like to share a report in the reports webinar, but maybe you have a document or something in the system. And if you share via Artwork Archive, you'll have the history of that. So oh shoot, did I send my price list? Did I send my portfolio? Did I send that piece, that certificate of authenticity, etc.? You can know, yes, I sent it. Okay, don't have to worry about that. And then what I love is the notes section of a contact record. So maybe you met this person at a fair and you wanted to remember them because you meet so many people out on the go sometimes. So that will populate here in the notes. And what's great, and a reminder, you can have access to this on your phone. So maybe you're out at a show or a fair and you want to open up your contact or your Artwork Archive on your phone, and you want to quickly jot down these notes to remember these people, because tomorrow your brain will just be mush because you were at the fair for so long. So this is where you can do that. You can also keep track of all past purchases, past accounting. So maybe you needed to send them an invoice for framing. This is where you can do that. And any additional files. So, maybe there's a commission agreement that you guys have, or maybe there's, some sort of document that you want to attach with this contact. I love the contact feature. I also love adding images that you can, maybe it's just you took a photo of them, or maybe it's on their LinkedIn profile or their Instagram, just to remember a face with a name so that I can remember that I met them, and that, jogging your memory as artists, we're also, wearing a bunch of hats. So to be able to kind of give yourself that help by adding an image so that the next time you see this person, you're like, yes, I know you. This is, our interaction. And that just helps with networking. It really does. I also wanted to point out, I'm going to go back to the main contact group. So you saw that Antoinette is in a group called VIP Collectors. So you can create contact groups and say you wanted to keep track of, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of water. So say you wanted to keep track of all of the curators or gallery owners in a region, or, just a specific group that you've met so that you can send them correspondence in the future. You can create groups. So here are the various groups that are some examples. So, gallery contacts, curators, collaborators, buyers, potential buyers, printers, VIP collectors, people who have already, collected your pieces, etc. And when I click into a group, it'll show all of those pieces. I can then create a report. So maybe I just want to print this specific group, or I want to send them mail, or, I want to send them an email. I can export that to Excel as well, and then, import it into my mailing system, like a MailChimp. And I also want to point out that contact records are not just for potential clients and collaborators, but also for any vendor as well. So you can create a contact record for, the supply store where you get your art materials. You can also add that contact to expenses and revenue when keeping track of all of that information for tax purposes. You can also keep track of lawyers or accountants, or really anyone you need to have access to their information for you and your art business. This just really helps you stay organized, professional, and ultimately it relieves a lot of stress and headache from having to remember where you kept that information. So I've had so many random drives or calendars or notebooks somewhere, and then I lose them and I lose that contact information that I'll need in the future. And don't forget, again, you can always access this on your phone or tablet if you don't have your computer handy. So it's always accessible to you. It's just a great tool to have to manage your business. So as you can see too, this person has a location relation. So everything is really related in Artwork Archive. So whether you've created a contact, a location, an exhibition, etc., you can relate them all to each other. So this person is, a curator for this specific gallery. I've put them in my group for curators, and, I shipped him a piece, and this is the shipping charge. Here's the invoice from that charge, and the date and all of that information. I can also add a reminder. But when I go back to contacts, something else I want to show you is that you can also filter by tag. So you can tag a contact, you can filter by relation. So maybe it's just related to location, or maybe it's a client of yours, or you can filter by groups, location. And then here's what it looks like when you're adding that information. So, you can add those tags here. Maybe you want to add, just people from my specific region, or maybe, art fair contacts, etc., bio, notes. I love the birthday idea as well. And also their social media. So maybe there's someone that you want to keep up with that you were friends on Twitter, and you don't want to lose that information. You can keep that as well. And with anything in Artwork Archive, you can add as little or as much information as you want. You do not have to fill out entire piece records like this to the extent to make it worth it. Okay, so that was a lot of information. I want to quickly show you if something looked confusing, or you want a more step-by-step process. We have the Learning Center here, and there are so many help docs. So let me show you how to access, if you just type in contacts. So here's, getting started with contacts. And our teams worked really hard to create these step-by-step instructions for anything in Artwork Archive. So the help docs is where you can access that information. We also have video tutorials here on the help docs. You can also access all of the past webinars. And then also we have discovery, for example, of, other artists or collectors. And then also we have our blog. So what I really love is, contacts. So how to master the art of the follow-up, getting started with provenance research, all of this, how artists can leverage a contact list. So we just have tons of resources for artists to make a living doing what you love. If you don't use Artwork Archive, we also have a free, no strings attached 14-day free trial that you're always welcome to use. We think that's the best place to get started. And then you can also reach out to us. Okay, enough of that. I'm going to look at the Q&A. I hope this was helpful. I hope that this gave you a better understanding of how to use these specific features, because ultimately we want this to be user-friendly for you, and we want you to grow your business. Okay, I'm seeing a couple questions around, is there an Artwork Archive app? There's not, but we are a responsive network, so you can access it on any device at any time, and it'll adjust to those specific devices. So you don't need an app, and that's really handy. Let me see. Is there a way to keep track of in-process artworks to keep track of different series? Yes. I actually love this question because are you talking about like commissions or pieces that aren't completely filled out yet? Because if that's the case, yes, I will give you an example. I love, let me see if I have it here. Oh my gosh. Yes. So this is how I would recommend keeping track of commissions. So say you don't even have an image of a piece yet, but you just have the sketch. You can create a piece record for that and then go through and update the piece as you're, getting finished with it. This one, I marked it as sold because I was using it as an example, but you can tag it as a commission or tag it as in process and then log all of those pieces just so you have it handy. I have contacts in my iCloud account with Apple. Can I move the contacts into my AA contacts? So yes, you can actually, we do have import services for contacts. So if you're interested and have a big long list and want to import those contacts, you can reach out to us. There's a one-time fee for certain accounts, but feel free to reach out. We have that also on our help docs, the import process, but that is available to you. Do deadlines go to your email? Yes. Those, you'll get your reminders from this schedule and the deadlines from the exhibitions every week to your email. Let me show you where you can edit that. So on account page, you can go down, and if you want to receive that weekly reminder email, you'll click this box right here. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking through the questions. Max image size. Is this appropriate for keeping an image suitable for making a print later? Yes. So we really recommend importing all of your high resolution images here. So up to 30 megabytes is what we recommend. And the specific, let me see if I have on the help docs here. Learning Center help docs. So here's how to upload artwork. We accept most image types up to 30 megabytes. You can also upload up to 10 supporting images per piece. And a lot of this information also is on our 101. So if you want to watch a pre-recorded 101, you can just type in 101 webinar here. Here's a pre-record. There's my face as well. Here's a pre-recording of a 30-minute introductory webinar that goes through all of that getting started information. And you can also register for a live one. How to get the landing page to show art pieces as a list. Okay, yes. So let's go to your artwork page. So if you want to change the view of your artwork, you can do so up here. So let's say, here's a list view, table view. If you want to look at it more of an Excel, you can also use a slideshow view here. Stay on my workspace on code. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking through the questions. In the future, if you haven't already, please address an artist's legacy or estate. How can the families or beneficiaries use Artwork Archive with the artist's work? That is such a good question, Cheryl. We actually have a webinar already on our webinars page about this, but we have artists all the time trying to make sure that their legacy is protected. And also we see them create collections to also say, this work goes here, this work goes to this person. We have a lot of resources on that as well on our blog. So let me go to our blog here and I'll send this to the chat. Just our main blog page. So our team, let me look at artist estate. So here's a bunch of articles specifically on that subject that might help with those questions. Can you show how to print out an inventory? Yes, so a lot of this, let me show you exactly. So for your inventory, if you want to print out every single piece here, you would click New Report and Inventory Report here. A tear sheet is where you'll have more of those thumbnail images. And again, this feature Spotlight was specifically just covering locations, exhibitions, and contacts. If you want more detail on reports, I highly recommend that you check out, let me show you here on our webinars page. So here are the other feature spotlights that this one goes directly into all the reports that you can possibly generate on Artwork Archive and exactly the best use case to use them. So I'm going to include actually the blog here, and then I'm going to include the link to this webinar specifically for reports. This is working. Oh, that's nice. High-res section of the pieces page. A lot of resolution image questions. Yes, we do recommend having high resolution image. And what I love is maybe in the future you need to have, a press release with these pieces. Adding a high resolution means that what's great is, let me show you in this piece record. So I have these high resolution images stored below here in the original image file. I can immediately share this with anyone. I can view it. I can download this high resolution image. I can copy the URL to include an email to share, or I can share directly from Artwork Archive to one of my contacts. Great. Labor intensive entering all this info. Yes, there's a lot of information that you might need to add up front with, populating the pieces in the system. And what we also recommend is starting with, the artwork that's fresher in the memory. So leave, those pieces, especially those of you who have been artists for a number of years. If you are overwhelmed by the daunting task of entering your information, just start with the fresh pieces, add what you can over time. This does not all have to be happening immediately, but also you can take advantage of our import service as well. So I can show you on our, let me go back here to the help docs. here's more information on importing if you needed to import artwork or contacts. We do have a service available for those of you that already have your system, your artwork in another system or maybe in Excel. Looking through more questions. How would you record a sale if it's been sold by a gallery, but you don't have the buyer's details? So what's great about that question is you can mark it as sold from the gallery. And then if you wanted to or if you wanted to get those buyers' information, you can reach out to the gallery and say, I'd like this for my records. Maybe they have the information, but you can definitely reach out to them and ask. Can you add your own legal language in the consignment agreement? Yes, you can in the description of the consignment agreement. Okay, I'm seeing. If you save a contract to a client record, can that same document be linked to an artwork or multiple artworks for a commission contract? Yes, you can always add documents to any piece. So like you see here, I have additional files here. So if you want to add that commission agreement or that, whatever you need to add, you can add that here. Let me edit this piece record to show you where you would add that. Sorry, I might be scrolling quickly. Where are those additional? Oh, these are the additional images. Well, it's outside the piece of record actually. So I could say add file, and then here's where I would add that file to the piece record. Okay. So unfortunately, I think we are out of time. I did not get to everyone's question, but I will definitely look through these and reach out. I really hope this was helpful. Let me know if you had any moments of aha, or things you didn't know or things you learned. That's always helpful for feedback for me. And of course, if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to us. We're here to help. You can go to team@artworkarchive.com. Let me go back to my slide here. We have help at Artwork Archive. We have our newsletter that we also send out. We have our blog and other webinars. So we're here for you. We want you to get the most out of the platform, and we want you to grow your businesses, and we want you to make a living doing what you love. So thank you so much for taking the time, for spending this hour with me. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.